Good morning everybody and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And today I've got a rolling stock update for you and something a little bit extra, and then there's also a new locomotive to show you, and I'm going to let you ponder on that new locomotive for a little while and let you try and work out what it might be. So firstly, the first thing to say is that I've been working back on the Class 60 projects, and there were supposedly supposed to have been 6 done that I bought as Limas and converted, repainted, and there's supposed to be 6 of them. It turns out that the final count for those Limas were 5, and I'll get onto that in just a moment. Now, the reason for bringing these back up is I decided I was having problems. I was trying to get these 60s up and running properly, and I was having particularly problems with 2 of them. So I decided to get Streff Pepper Junction on the eBay and buy a couple of his CD motors. I'd already purchased a CD motor for one of my Class 73s, which seemed to be running really well. But I bought that more not because the ring field wasn't, in that particular locomotive, wasn't working particularly well. It was just, I was under the impression, let's say, that it was going to be quieter in general. And I have found that not to be the case. I have got my five 60s that are Limas here in front of me, and I will show you them one by one. And 3 of them have still got their ring field motors in them, and 2 of them have got Streff Pepper CD motors in them. And the first one I wanted to show you, and this is just like almost like a bit of a refresh really, because you have seen these before, but this is one. All of these are repaints, and these are repaints which I've done myself. These are let's just say this is very much cheaper than going down the old Hornby route, and a couple of these liveries here you can't actually get via Hornby anyway, because, and I say Hornby because Hornby are the ones that actually make the Class 66, sorry, the Class 60 as a super detailed. So the one I'm going to show you first is, I'll show you this one first. I guess it doesn't really make a difference. This is a GBRF Class 60095. Like I said, this is a Lima, and this is not to be confused with the Hornby Class 60. This is still on its ring field motor. It's got lights in it, it's got cab lights in it, and it's got instrument lights on it. And it's probably my best runner, to be honest, and or my most reliable one. And this is still running on its ring field motor. I've never really had too many issues with this. And like I said, my repaint came out really well. And like I said, it's a real bargain at just, I think these 60s cost me anything between 40 and up to 60. I didn't pay any more than 60 for any of them because that was my limit. But anything between 40, and the decals came from Railtech transfers. And this one runs really lovely. My second one, which you can't get from Hornby, this is a repaint which I did. I think I've seen somebody else do a repaint on these. I think it was Angry 7, I think his channel is called Badger's Cross. And he actually repainted a Hornby super detailed, whereas this one is actually a Lima one. But this one still runs just as perfectly well. This is in the Puma livery. And this one I'd experimented with the coupling on the back by putting an M coupling on the back, but that tends to stick out too far out. But I've left it as it is. It works. It was just an experiment that I did with this particular locomotive. But I've left all the others with the Ds on the back. But yeah, so that's 60074, and this has also got lights cab light and instrument lights on it. And then we come to the third of our Class 60s with the ring filled motor, and this is another one which you can't buy from Hornby. You have to repaint it yourself and do it yourself if you want this livery. And this is in the DC Rail Freight Class Lima 60, which is repainted. It's had some minor work done to it since you last saw it, because what I'd suggest basically on all of these Class 60s is you get this orange paint stripe on the top there, and if you buy it from Railtech, which is what I did originally, it's a complete nightmare. It's absolutely useless. I wouldn't even bother with it, to be honest with you. My advice is, if you're going to do a repaint of your own, then is to, when you do at the primer stage, once you've primed it and you come to start doing the top coat, is to actually spray the top part in orange first and have it painted on, because these cant rails, these orange strips, are just absolutely useless. They're a pain to get on, and I've had problems with getting them to stay on as well. So I've had to touch them up with paint to try and get them sort of sorted out, which is what I've done on this one. You don't really notice it on this one because I use a fine brush, but it is a real pain. But it looks absolutely amazing. This is 60055, and it's William Wilberforce, I think it was. No, it's Thomas Bernardo, sorry. I think 60046 was William Wilberforce. But this is Thomas Bernardo 60055. And again, this is a livery which you can't buy from Hornby in any case. This also has working headlights, although I do need to have a little look at them because they seem a bit dim, so I don't know whether or not they are, whether it's moved or what I've done with that exactly. Then we have probably my most problematic of my 60s, but the one that I probably loved the most, probably. I've always loved this livery. This is something that Hornby did as a super detailed 60, probably back in 2010 or 9 or something like that. And this was the Switch to Safety DB Schenker one. And I love this livery, and I was always pleased with the way that this has come out, and it's always looked great, but it's always been a very poor runner. It's always had so many issues running. We now seem to have it running okay. It's got a Streff Pepper motor in it, and there you go, straighten that out. And that seems to have made a huge difference. And it's got lights in it, and also it's also got a decoder in it, a Zimo decoder in it, which I had one of these decoders, and I think this decoder was a bit iffy, which I think was part of the problem, because it ran all right on DC when I put the blanking chip on it, but it just wouldn't run properly on DCC. And I've since, like I said, cleaned it out, cleaned the wheels out, serviced it, and all the rest of it. Put the motor in it, and it now seems to be running a lot more smoothly than it did before, and it's running a lot better. So that's why this one has had a Streff Pepper motor in it. And like I said, the Zimo, I was going to put a Hornby chip in it, but I got the chip from Paul, and Paul actually told me that the Zimo chip was actually cheaper and it's better. So I bought that and I tried it, and it works a treat. And then we come to my last Class 60. Now this Class 60 is the one that's had the most work done to it, purely because it wasn't in this livery. Because originally there was supposed to be 6 Lima 60s that I was going to do, 6 repaints, but I never ever actually got round to buying the 6 Lima 60. And then this particular 60, which I'm about to show you, was actually my Kappa Blue 60, my blue Kappa 60 that I had before. But I had problems with the transfers from Railtech, and then they were coming away, peeling away, and then they started getting chipped, and it just looked awful. So I decided to strip it and then repaint it into this livery. the blue was the right blue, so I didn't need to actually repaint the blue. So this is essentially one of the most recent releases by Hornby, which is 60026. Now, I'd already bought the transfers previously for the 6 repaint to do the 660 into this colour scheme, but because I never got around to buying it, and because I was having problems with the other one, I decided to strip the other one, strip the other body shell, and then just redo the body shell and convert it into 60026, and it looks absolutely ace. The interior has been done as well. This one hasn't got any lighting in it. I'm sort of experimenting with this one because this 60 here, the red one, is the one that's got the Stref Pepper junction, but it's also got lighting in it. And I was wondering just how much power the lighting was going to take and how much it was going to affect the running of this one before adding lighting to this one. This has also got a Zimo chip in it, and it's got this chip in it, and it does run a dream. Actually, it runs really, really lovely. And like I said, it's about £180, I think, if you buy it from Hornby, with all the lights and all the bells and whistles and everything. This has cost me I think it's about, well, I know it's not going to cost me any more than £60 for the Loco. It's anything between 40 and 60, plus the transfers. The cant rail was also coming off, the orange stripe was coming off on the other one. So that was another problem that I was having. So I completely stripped that out. The roof was black as well. So what I did is I painted in the orange cant rail. So now I can just hold it from the top, knowing that I'm not going to pull it off, because it's just absolutely rubbish. So I wouldn't bother wasting your money buying Railtech orange cant rail strips. They really are rubbish. They're too fine. They're too difficult to put on, and they don't last very long. I've tried, like I said. So these have all been completely sealed. So hopefully all the transfers will last a lot longer. I have to say, they were a nightmare to get this long strip down at the bottom. That was a complete nightmare as well, getting that on, to make sure it doesn't curl up or anything like that. So it is a bit of a nightmare to do some of these repaints and getting some of the transfers on. But if you can do it yourself, you will get some great results. And like I said, once it's running on the layout, it will look absolutely fabulous, to be honest. So that's that. So now for something completely different. I've got a new locomotive to show you. And some of you are probably saying, again, another one? Wow, you know. And it's not what you think it is. And this has come courtesy of my friend Nigel over at Cotton End. And I have to give him a shout out. And he's a dear friend of mine. And he hasn't actually given it to me. I bought this from Paul at the Autumn Model Centre. The reason why I mentioned Nigel over at Cotton End, because this is one of the locomotives he owns. I can't remember if it's this exact version, because there was it. Basically, I will show you what it is. It is a Haljan, and this is to go through into my historic fleet, my heritage fleet. And it's something very unusual for this layout because it's not something I would normally buy. This is a Haljan Class 86. And like I said, I visited my friend Nigel on many occasions. I'm due to visit him again soon. And every time I go there, I always see this locomotive and it always catches my eye. And I've always loved it to pieces. And I see it running on this. I've always wanted one. I just thought, oh, it looks amazing. It's not really appropriate for my layout, but it's just one of those that it's my layout. I'll put what I want on it. And also it will go on my heritage fleet. Now, it's absolutely stunning, to be honest. It really is. I know Haljan have had a lot of stick. What I would say about it is I do have one or two grumbles about it, to be honest. One is the packaging. This is the packaging as it is, but there's no sort of foam, so you can sort of squeeze it from both ends. So there's only a little bit of foam on the two ends, but not on the top and bottom, which I think it could have done with. Also, it does say it gives you an important instruction about lifting and taking the model out of the packaging and taking it out, because it is quite a fragile locomotive, and to take the body off, so much so that I said to Paul, or I asked Paul if he could fit the decoder in it for me, because it's a bit like the 50s. If you've got a 50, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is that it's just so beautiful, honestly. It's absolutely gorgeous. You have to be careful how you handle it. I'm going to show you the bottom of it and you'll see what I mean. If you sort of pick it up from the wrong angle, you can sort of break these kind of fragile bits or bend them in. If you've got this bit here as well, look, which is very, very fragile. So you have to be careful handling it. And here it is. It is a stunning, stunning model. And it is such a smooth runner as well. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So it's something that's just like, I just love it. It looks brilliant. It runs absolutely smooth. It's just so smooth. They've got rid of the candle sort of bulb, stupid bulbs that they used to have. And then the other gripe that I had with Helgen, and with this particular model as well, is that they've actually, you can see that the detailing is great, but it was on both ends. But I asked Paul when he fitted the decoder for me to take off the detail at one end, because you can't put a tension lock coupling in it otherwise, and then you can't pull any coaches because it will just derail everything inside. I think Helgen's argument is that there's too many people complaining, saying, oh, that the Helgen parts are too fiddly to put on, so they've done it at both ends, which I think is a bit silly, really. I think they should have just compromised and did one end and left the other end as it is, but maybe they're doing it because of the collectors, who knows. But like I said, it's just such a beautiful model. I'm going to put it on the track, and then after we will talk some more. So here is my Class 86. It does look a bit odd on this layout. And as you can see, you've got the lights there. And if I just switch it over, it's on the right throttle. It is pretty bright. And it just looks, it's just so smooth. So we're off the tripod and let's have a little bit of a closer look at it. It's got directional lighting, as you've seen. It's nice and bright. It looks absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful locomotive. Let's just have a little bit of a closer look at it. And like I said, it is detailed at both ends, but I asked Paul to remove the detail off of this end. Let's just have a little look, see. There is actually detail in the cab, but the detail on the top is just exquisite. So well done, Helgen, for producing this lovely Class 86. So let's see it go. So this is one of my 60s, my Lima 60s, running on with the Ringfield motor in it. And just to show you just how it still runs lovely. So just coming through is our Chef Pepper Lima 60. Not the quietest of runners. So just before we go, we've got some other new bits to show you. Basically this turned up from Kevin at Coastal DCC. This is another 10-meter cable, the same as the other one I showed you on the previous video. As the cable that came with Paul still isn't quite long enough to where I want to get it into the bedroom. And to be honest with you, for the sake of £5, I just thought I'll just get the Locomotive cable. That's 10 meters, and that will do the job for when I come to hooking it up into the bedroom. The last thing I want to show you is I got a new camera. Now, the jury is still out on this camera, to be fair, because when it came out, it was all the rave with Samsung. However, it has had some issues, and it's very similar to a lot of these cameras. I currently use this little cube camera, this Polaroid cube camera on my layout, which is what I used to do the track cam. That was it. So it eventually got there. And it works very well. It also comes with sound, although the sound never really come across on the footage. The reason for that is that you have to convert the file into a file that YouTube recognizes in order to get the sound out of this, because otherwise it will just convert the pictures only, and then it takes forever and a day to try and convert it all. So I heard about these 360 cameras going around, and I heard about this particular camera called a Samsung Gear 360. Now, it has, like I said, the jury is still out. I didn't pay the full original price for it because the full original price of it was very, very expensive. I got this as a refurb from eBay, and for a reasonable price, knowing that it did have some issues. And the issues which it has is very similar to what the issues were with the Wi-Fi version of this, which is it was trying to connect to the app on the phone, and it used to have a lot of issues trying to get anyone who's owned one of these and tried to connect it to the phone via the Wi-Fi will know that it was a real kind of hit and miss kind of game whether you'd get it or not. So they stopped making these in Wi-Fi because of it, and they stopped supporting the app because of it. Now, it's very similar deal with this Samsung 360. However, it was a 360 camera, which you can control via your remote control at home. So you as a viewer could use your remote control to completely pan round and have a look at what was going on around the flat. And in some ways that's good, in some ways that's bad. But for the purpose of the layout, you could sort of see all the corners of the layout. And like I said, I did go to Vegas on it. I did take a bit of a gamble on it. But like I said, I didn't pay the full price for it or anywhere near it because it was a refurb, and also because it's, I wasn't too sure whether it was going to work, to be honest. And as it turns out, it's not really going to work for me in terms of a track cam, which is what I was hoping it was going to do. And the reason for that is basically its size. This is the Samsung 360, and it's a lovely little camera, and I haven't really had the chance to use it, but this is my current one. So when you kind of look at it, you can see what the difference is. The thing I've always loved about the Cube was the fact that it was its shape. It's a cube. No matter which way round you put it, the dimensions were always the same, and it was never going to catch on anything. So but on this, it's, as you can see, it's so round and bulbous. It just doesn't clear some of my tunnels. It doesn't clear some of my bridges, and it's catching on things. So I can't really use it as a track cam. However, I am planning to still sort of use it and mount it possibly on the layout and just leave it as a standalone camera and do some shots like that, where you as a viewer can then pan round on the layout with it. And that's kind of, rather than use it as a track cam. And maybe I might be able to use it as a track cam in places. I'm not sure. I still have to experiment with this little camera and see whether or not it is. I'm not going to say I recommend it, because I know there is issues with it, and I bought it knowing that there was some issues, but I didn't purchase the full price for it. Like I said, the main issue is to do with the software and the connectivity. Basically, it has to work with a Samsung phone, although I have a Samsung phone and it doesn't connect with my current Samsung phone. Although it might just be that my Samsung phone is a few years old, quite a few years old, but it should still. I mean, it does say it should connect with a Galaxy, but it doesn't seem to connect with my phone at all. So I don't know. But you can use it as a standalone camera, so that's probably what I'm going to end up doing with it. But as long as I get great images with it, we will see. So it's all a bit of an experiment with this little camera. So there will probably be some test footage with it at some point in the near future. But this is my little gadget. And I was a bit disappointed because it was refurbished, and it sold to me as refurbished, but there wasn't any real instructions with it. So it only came with a cable, the bag, and the Cube itself. It didn't even come with the little mini tripod, although I do have a mini tripod for another camera which I can use with this, and a number of other little tripods too, but it's just sort of beside the point really. But anyway, we're going to see and have a little play with this and see what sort of footage we can get out of this. But it's a very cute, well-built camera, and I'm looking forward to testing it out. I haven't really had the chance to test it out because of my work commitments. So I'm now off for a few days, so I might have a little play with it and see what happens. So until the next time, it's goodbye from Mildenhall and Volmer. Mildenhall, Volmer, well, I guess it's Mildenhall and Districts really. I guess it's still in my head. As far as the district's concerned, we're not too far off completing the whole layout in terms of the actual build. We're 75% there. Like I said, we've now made it into the bedroom, as you've seen from my live stream, or if you haven't seen it, then go and check out the live stream, and that will kind of show you where I'm at with that. A bit more progress has been made since, but not a huge amount. And again, that's just purely because of my work commitments. So hopefully within the next few days, I will work on that some more. And I'm off, not next week, but the week after. So I'm hoping to get the final extension built within that week, because my hours are changing. So bearing that in mind, I'm going to have to try and get that final extension built within the week that I'm off holiday, because I'm now going to be working Monday to Friday as opposed to sort of just random rota. And on the random rota, you used to get some long weekends from time to time, as well as your holidays. So, which could have consisted of 3, 4, 5 days, and even 6. So, but I'm not going to get that anymore. So because I'm not going to get that anymore, it's now more and more important that I try and get this extension built during the time that I'm off on holiday. So anyway, until the next time, it's goodbye from Mildenhall and Districts, and take care. Bye bye.